Sexual fantasies. The very phrase can evoke a mix of excitement and apprehension. They are the secret desires that dance in the shadows of our minds, often hidden from even our most intimate partners. But what are these fantasies? And what do they reveal about the complexities of human desire? Despite the taboo often surrounding them, sexual fantasies are incredibly common. Studies suggest that the vast majority of adults experience sexual fantasies, with some estimates as high as 95%. These fantasies can range from the relatively tame to the wildly adventurous, encompassing a diverse spectrum of desires and scenarios. The universality of sexual fantasies suggests that they are a normal and healthy part of human sexuality. Far from being something to be ashamed of, they offer a safe and private space for us to explore our desires and experiment with different aspects of our sexuality. Rather than viewing fantasies as a threat to our relationships or a sign of dissatisfaction, we can begin to understand them as a window into the richness and complexity of our inner lives. Sexual fantasies are more than just fleeting thoughts. They reflect our deepest desires, fears, and longings, providing insights into our subconscious minds. Some fantasies revolve around power and control, others center on novelty and adventure. Fantasies vary based on experiences and backgrounds. There is no right or wrong in fantasies as long as they remain safe. From a psychological perspective, sexual fantasies serve a multitude of purposes. They can provide a safe and private outlet for exploring taboo desires or desires that we might feel ashamed of expressing in real life. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, believed that fantasies were a manifestation of our unconscious desires and repressed urges. He argued that fantasies allowed us to vicariously experience these desires without having to confront the societal taboos or potential consequences associated with them. While contemporary psychology has moved away from some of Freud's more rigid interpretations, his emphasis on the unconscious and the role of fantasy in psychic life remains relevant. Modern theories suggest that fantasies can also serve as a form of self-regulation, helping us to manage stress, cope with anxiety, or boost our self-esteem. They can also be a source of pleasure and excitement, providing a much-needed escape from the mundane realities of everyday life. One of the most common themes that emerge in sexual fantasies is that of power dynamics. Fantasies involving dominance and submission, for example, are incredibly prevalent in both men and women. These fantasies can reflect a desire for control either over ourselves or over others. They might also stem from a need to relinquish control and surrender to the desires of another. It's important to note that fantasies involving power dynamics do not necessarily translate into a desire for those dynamics to play out in real life. They might simply be a way of exploring different aspects of our sexuality and experimenting with different roles within a safe and imaginary space. For some, these fantasies might be a way of processing past experiences or traumas related to power and control. For others, they might simply be a source of erotic excitement and pleasure. Section 5. Delving into desire, forbidden fruit, and novelty. Another common theme in sexual fantasies is the allure of the forbidden. Fantasies about infidelity, for example, are surprisingly common, even among people who are in happy and committed relationships. These fantasies don't necessarily mean that we want to cheat on our partners or that we are unhappy in our relationships. Instead, they might reflect a deeper longing for novelty, excitement, or a desire to feel desired by someone outside of our primary relationship. The human brain is wired to seek out novelty and excitement. When we experience something new, our brains release dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This is why new experiences, including sexual experiences, can be so exhilarating. In the context of a long-term relationship, fantasies about infidelity or forbidden encounters might be a way of injecting some much-needed excitement and novelty into our sexual repertoire. They can help us to tap into our primal desires and reconnect with the thrill of the unknown. Section 6. The allure of the unknown, exploring BDSM and Kink. For some, sexual fantasies venture into the realm of BDSM and Kink. BDSM, which stands for bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism, encompasses a wide range of activities and interests related to power exchange, sensation play, and consensual role-playing. Fantasies involving BDSM can be incredibly diverse and often involve intricate scenarios, specific power dynamics, and a focus on sensation and exploration. These fantasies might reflect a desire to explore the boundaries of our sexuality, to experience intense sensations, or to engage in consensual power exchange. It's important to emphasize that BDSM, when practiced ethically and consensually, is a valid and fulfilling expression of sexuality. Fantasies involving BDSM do not necessarily mean that someone is kinky or deviant. They simply reflect a different set of desires and interests. If you find yourself curious about BDSM or other forms of kink, it's important to approach these interests with respect, open communication, and a commitment to safety and consent. Understanding consent and boundaries. Sexual fantasies can be healthy, but there's a clear distinction between fantasy and reality. What we fantasize about isn't necessarily what we want in real life. Consent is crucial, and respecting boundaries is essential. Fantasizing doesn't mean wanting to act it out or being pressured into it. Be mindful of the impact of fantasies on relationships. Address underlying issues if fantasies cause discomfort or guilt. Open communication about fantasies can enhance intimacy and understanding. Section 8. Fantasies and relationships, bridging the gap. Many people worry that sharing their fantasies with their partners will be met with judgment, disgust, or even rejection. However, open and honest communication about our desires, including our fantasies, can actually strengthen intimacy and connection in a relationship. When we share our fantasies with our partners, we are essentially inviting them into our most private and vulnerable selves. This act of vulnerability can foster trust, deepen intimacy, and create a space for greater sexual exploration and fulfillment. It's important to approach these conversations with sensitivity and respect. Choose a time and place where you both feel comfortable and safe. Start by sharing something small and manageable, and be prepared for your partner to need some time to process what you've shared. Remember that sharing your fantasies doesn't mean that you have to act them out. The act of sharing itself can be incredibly intimate and can help you to understand each other's desires on a deeper level. Section 9. The role of culture and society. Our sexual fantasies are not formed in a vacuum. They are shaped by a multitude of factors, including our upbringing, our cultural background, and the messages we receive from society about sex and sexuality. For example, in many cultures, women are socialized to be sexually passive and submissive, while men are encouraged to be assertive and dominant. These societal norms can influence the types of fantasies that we have, even if we don't consciously subscribe to these beliefs. The media we consume, the books we read, and the movies we watch can also shape our sexual desires and fantasies. From a young age, we are bombarded with images and messages about what is considered sexy and desirable. It's important to be critical of these messages and to question the ways in which they might be influencing our own desires and expectations. We can choose to embrace fantasies that feel authentic and exciting to us, regardless of whether they align with societal norms. Section 10. Embracing our fantasies, a path to self-discovery. Ultimately, our sexual fantasies offer us a unique opportunity for self-discovery and exploration. By paying attention to our fantasies, we can gain a deeper understanding of our desires, our fears, and our deepest longings. Rather than judging our fantasies or feeling ashamed of them, we can approach them with curiosity and a sense of adventure. We can ask ourselves, what is it about this fantasy that excites me? What need or desire is it fulfilling? What does it reveal about my deepest self? The journey of exploring our fantasies is not always easy or comfortable. It can challenge our beliefs about ourselves and our sexuality. However, it is a journey that can lead to greater self-awareness, increased intimacy, and a more fulfilling and authentic sexual life. Section 11. Conclusion: the power of imagination. Sexual fantasies, far from being a source of shame or guilt, are a testament to the power of the human imagination. They allow us to explore the boundless realms of desire, to experiment with different versions of ourselves, and to connect with our deepest longings. By embracing our fantasies with curiosity and compassion, we can unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and our sexuality. We can use them as a tool for self-discovery, for enhancing intimacy, and for creating a more fulfilling and authentic sexual life. Remember, the most important thing is to approach our fantasies and our sexuality with respect, honesty, and a commitment to open communication. By doing so, we can harness the power of our imaginations to create a more pleasurable, connected, and fulfilling experience of sexuality.